So, back to another nightmarish film camera video. So, after the SRT 101 video, I kind of wanted to make another one, but this time on another Minolta camera. So, I wanted to show you, because I actually can't find any, I would say, video. I know there are some tutorial out there that you can find on some websites on how to do this, but at least I wanted to go on how to adjust the light meter on a X300, X370, X500, and I believe X570 also exists. I'm not sure anymore. But on the X300 to X500 cameras, how to adjust the light meter that you see inside the viewfinder. So this does not cover shutter speed adjustments. This is an entirely different thing. So I'm not going to do this here because I do not have the equipment to properly test the shutter speed of this camera, but however I do believe that I have proper equipment to at least have the exposure right. So this camera, like 2 seconds of background, was given it to me for free, and when I actually got it, it was supposedly dead, but I put new batteries in, I armed it, and it just worked fine. So good for me, I guess. The thing is that on these cameras, and funnily enough, I do have an X300 that I bought. This was my first Minolta camera that I bought at a flea market once, actually, well, on the first time. And I noticed while taking pictures and after development that it tends to overexpose. It tends to go one step further, sometimes even two, and you notice it on the pictures. I mean, one stop isn't that much. I think two sometimes, especially on outside pictures, is not that great. Now, I do believe the shutter speeds to be kind of okay. So if you use, for example, a phone and you have high speed, oh, this is me, and if you have a high speed mode on the camera, for example, you can take a video of the shutter speed mechanism. Or one thing you can do, so this is actually a pretty nice webcam that's on the tripod. One thing you can do is you set your camera next to the shutter you want to try, or test rather, and you use something like Audacity or any audio recording software to record the shutter speed. And I would say that up to 1/16th of a second, 16th starts to be a bit low. It's around 15 milliseconds. It's hard to guess, but you can still kind of make it up. But if you go, for example, to 130, 115, 1/8, all of these, you can actually have like pretty decent measurements when you're using a camera with a microphone, or straight up a microphone, but I mean something that you can hook up to a PC. You launch Audacity, you fire the shutter, you close the recording, and then you measure the length. This is something that I might do in another video, I don't know. I actually have another camera that I need to really adjust the shutter speed, so you will not be able to adjust high shutter speeds, but at least lower-ish one, you have something that you can do. But again, this is nothing to do with this is just the light meter system. So, like I said, on these cameras, on this one specifically, in the X300 that I have, the funny thing is that it tends to overexpose by one stop. So how do you counter this? Well, you could, for example, set up the ISO higher. For a 400 ISO film, you could set up a 800. 800, you set up a 1/16th. It's every time you have to times 2. So theoretically, this limits the use of the camera to 1600 high ISO, but you know that works. If you're not handy with this, you can absolutely set up the ISO to 800 for when you use a 400 ISO film, for example, an APX 400, and it would work. That did not sit with me, especially because this one was free, so I was like, I'm not losing anything trying to open it, and I'm not planning on losing anything, so let's go ahead. So I looked it up, and I found that actually there's no real video like this of someone showing you an actual process on how to calibrate the exposure meters on these cameras. So I was figuring out, well, why not do it myself, since I do believe that what I've done here is fine. It's really not that bad. Again, take it with a grain of salt. This is straight up my desk at home. I do have a bit of cameras. I do know how to work these things, I think, but again, I don't have any like official credentials or anything. So the light metering system in the X300, X370, X500 is the exact same one, albeit there is slight differences that I'm going to show in case you have one of the other. So the service manual of the X300, X370 is available online. You can find it as a PDF. I might put it in the description if I remember to do that. And this is something that you can find. This is a X500. There is actually one difference that made me actually buy the service manual. Again, I'll probably put a link in the description. You can buy the service manual of the X500 if you really want to for about $2.50. I did it because I wasn't sure of something I did. You don't need to. If you just want to do the light metering system, you can absolutely use the PDF of the service manual of the X300, for example, for an X500 camera. It works the same. I can tell you I have the PDFs on my computer and I cross-reference them, and it's the exact same thing. I'm gonna tell you why I had to buy the $2 PDF just to make sure I didn't screw something up. So you get your camera, and first you have to take it apart. So this one is already done. I'm gonna gloss over really fast what you need to do if you want to take it out. So first you need to remove the lever. So you have a screw that goes, so the lever is something like this on the camera, and you have a screw here that you need to take out, this screw right there, and it will reveal this bare bone metal thing, which is the actual lever that you engage when taking a picture. And you have a screw, the lever screws right into this thing, and you have also where is it? Is it lost? Where is it? There is a there is a spring that I cannot seem to find. Whoop. It has to be on my desk somewhere. Where could it be? Well, guess I'll need to find it. Cannot be far, so I actually went away for a few hours before doing this video, so what a mystery. What a start, what a start. Well, doesn't matter. So you need to take this thing out, the screw. There's a spring, so watch out when you take it out. I did take it out, I didn't lose it. I just don't know where it is. This is weird. And then you also have a screw, or not a nut that you need to use a spanner wrench to unscrew, or if you have metal tweezers and they're already kind of not that great, you could get away with using tweezers to unscrew this thing and put it out. So you have the lever, the actual the dials to set the speed. You have to watch out because there's a slight piece of plastic that's gonna fall. That's the locking mechanism for when the A mode is selected on the camera. So you can leave it at A. It's not that important. It actually comes with the whole thing. You also have a screw here. You have a screw there that you need to take out. I do not believe there's a screw here. No, there is not. You have to take out the front plate as well. You have two screws, so it takes out like this. And then you have to take out the ASA wheel. For that you need to unscrew the winding mechanism, and you have to, I'm really confused about where this spring might have gone. It's weird. And then you have to take out which is again the same thing. It's a plastic ring that you unscrew. You should use a spanner wrench if you have one. If you use something like a pair of tweezers, it can work, but if you mess up, you can rip the plastic. It's cosmetic at the end of the day, but you know, if it's your own camera, do what you want to do. If it's someone else's, maybe try to pay attention to what you're doing to not to aesthetically damage their stuff. So once you take all of this thing out, so you have the front plate, you have the winding mechanism, or sorry, rewind, you have the winding lever, you have this little plastic thing, you have the ASA wheel. you get to the inside of the camera in and of itself. So now, what do you need to do to actually calibrate this thing? So, and I'm going to tell you because I'm going to explain how this works in regard to the service manual that I have. So again, I do have the one for the X500 that you can buy, but again, if you use the X300 one to calibrate the X500, it should work exactly the same. So what you need to do is on the top plate, so I can switch back so to show you. So you have 4 potentiometers that you need to watch out for. This one, which is I'm going to zoom. I'm going to zoom on this. Yeah, it's a digital zoom, so it's not perfect, but I guess it's better than nothing. Nope. It's not going to get better than that. It's fine. So you have the first potentiometer that's right below the shutter button that does not come out. This you have a second one here. You have one that is here on the side of this PCB, and then finally one here at the top. So what do they do? This one is for the ASA inclination. This is for the strobe level. This is for the AD conversion, and this is for the actual auto exposure level. So what does the PDF of Minolta tells us on how to set up this thing? What you need to do first is the one that is at the top, that is above this IC. You need to make sure. So how you can do this is that, so on the ASA wheel you have 2 wires here. You have a brown one, you have an orange one. So again, it's not great with the camera here, I guess. It's the best I can do. But you have this orange and you have this brown one. So you need to use something like a digital for multimeter. So grab your trusty one, and what you need to do is set it to, for example, 200 millivolts, and you need to take a measurement between the brown one and the orange one, whilst at the same time having the metering system on. So how does it work out? This is why I kind of wanted to show how I did it. So essentially what you need to do here is take a measurement between these 2 wires. So again, in this case, so you can actually use the pads. If you look how it's connected, you can take a measurement between the 2 golden pads, or paths, sorry, that are right above this. But theoretically you could also measure straight on the solder joints. Find something that works for you, and you have to have the metering system on. So Minolta tells you that depending on the temperatures, for example, I'm currently in a room that is 21 degrees, so 21 plus minus 2.5 degrees Celsius, you need to have 141.5 millivolts, plus minus 2 millivolts on this thing. So the way you want to go about this, because you do not have the equipment that Minolta had so that this thing works, is you need to grab something, because to turn the metering system on, you need to put your finger here, and it connects something, I guess, to that, so that the metering system is on. So the white pad here actually controls whether or not the camera is on or off. So when it's all the way down like this, the camera is off. And with, again, you can look underneath, there is some golden brushes. You need to move them up ever so slightly so that it's all the 3 brushes are touching where it's somewhere in the middle. And then you could use something like a screw head, or in this case a hex. It goes into one of my precision screwdriver. What you can do is you can put something here so that it weighs down on it and it makes actual contact. So for example, in this case, I do believe it is on. I cannot see it. Yes, it's on. In this case, it's on, for example. So now, whilst this thing is on, you can do your measurements. So in this case, for example, when you when you press this thing, you can, or when you just put your finger, you can look through the roof viewfinder and see that it actually lights up. Something is happening. So what you do is then you measure between these two golden pads. It turned on, off, sorry, and and it keeps turning off. It's actually quite tricky to get it to work. Is it on actually? It's very finicky. I can't see if it's on or not. In this case it is. Like here it's on. I do see the dial, but once you touch this it has a tendency to go off. In this case it works, and it's at 1.4. It's below my hand, so you can't see. And it turned off again. It's kind of a pain, and it doesn't work. So I was at 141 millivolts. So again, you have to do it yourself. It's actually a bit finicky. Maybe you can use something that's heavier than this so that it pushes on the brushes and it makes contact, but you kind of get the gist of it. It's done for mine, so hence why I'm not going over it again, but you kind of get the thing. So in this case, what you want to do, again, if you follow the PDF you should be fine, but you need to adjust the resistor that is here all the way at the top, and not this one if you are completely stupid, which is what I did. I was adjusting this one. I don't know why they're not at the same place at all. I don't know. I guess I had one of those moments, you know. Hence why I went and I bought the $2 PDF to just check, what is this? What did I screw up? Turns out it's just for the probe level, so I don't even care that much. It's actually quite a pain to set up again, so I put it right kind of where it was when I started, and I'm like, I'm not going to touch it again, I think, because I do not have the equipment to properly test that. So when you have to be very finicky with this, it is actually very, very, very sensible. So, sensitive, sorry. I would recommend you use some plastic tweezers, because in that way you are kind of assuring yourself that you're not going to scratch what's below. If you feel adventurous, you can also do it with metal tweezers, which is what I did at some point, because I couldn't get a good grip with the plastic tweezers, so I had to use the metal ones. But again, this is not really something I'd recommend to do. You do your own thing. You are your own boss, so do what you want to do. So when you have the correct voltage on this, mine was at something like 139 or something, so it was actually slightly off. Sorry, mine was slightly off. So once you have this correct voltage, Minolta tells you in the PDF file to you need to do another resistance and another measurement. Again, it's kind of a pain because it's only on when the light metering system is on, meaning that you need to do the trick where you have to be able to push down on this thing so that it turns on, whilst at the same time, so this is the resistor, the one on the right next to the shutter button, that you need to move, and you need to take a measurement between these two solder joints here, and you want to have something like 288 millivolts. In my case it was 283 because I'm in a 21 degree room, so again you just follow whatever Minolta tells you to do in the PDF. So this thing you kind of can figure it out yourself if you are already opening one of these. I guess that you're not that afraid to take measurements with a multimeter to adjust some potentiometers. The part that's quite interesting to me is that when you get to the actual auto exposure measurement, oh sorry, this is the manual shutter speed, so this is something that I'm absolutely not going to do. I'm just going to assume that the shutter speeds are right because they are mostly right, so I'm just going to check the auto exposure level. So this thing. So theoretically you would need a luminance box, you would need something like this tester here. yeah, you don't have that. So how do you make do? Well, the thing that I found, so you need to have something like 50-ish millimeter lens that can go, for example, this is the 51.4 that I have on it. I'm not even sure, I can't really check. It's too far in front of me and I'm afraid to tilt it and some stuff will come out. So let me check. This is a 1.7. This is 1.7. So this is a 50 millimeter 1.7 lens. So how to test this out? So you need to have something like a good diffused proper source of light. So if you can use a light bulb for this, but again it's not really, it's a single point of light. You can use many things. What I found that works actually pretty well are these. If I lift it up, this is a drawing. Why is the auto focus not doing well on the camera? So, for example, this is something that like a light table, I would say. This is a plastic one that I bought at a convenience store here for 13 euros. Initially, I bought it to just look at negatives and also positive image, black and white colors, you know, to just have a put them on and have a look, because it's actually a diffused source of light, so it's actually quite nice to have. And it has the good, I would say, afterthought that if you have something like this, if you turn on lights, for example, let me turn off the light of my desk, so this is the only source of light that you have. If you there's 3 levels of light. You can use something like handheld light cell, or maybe another camera that you actually trust the light cell from. Best would be to use something like this, so you can, you know, put it in front, set it up. So I'm gonna turn this thing off. Ooh. So if you don't know how to use these things, essentially you need to match the needle at the bottom here. You need to choose an ASA, and then you have the autofocus is off, so maybe this time it will work. Yes. No, really, not really. Great. And you have the shutter speed that you need to use at a given aperture for a given ASA. Again, the camera is not really doing its autofocus job, but yeah, whatever. So if you use, for example, one of these and a light table that like I've showed you, you can set up a camera like this. For example, in the Minolta PDF, they tell you to use a setting of ASA 100 at 5.6 with a luminance of 10. Okay, how do you do that? In my case, what I found is that using the plate, the drawing plate that I showed you, the light table, and I set it at half its power. When I use, for example, I'm gonna set the light cell outside the field of view of the camera. So you put the light cell right in front of it, you line it up, and then you go to ASA 100, and I can show you the result. The result is that at 5.6 you need to exactly use 125. So this is actually kind of great, because this is a round value that you can aim for. So again, you kind of have to trick it out, because so the best would be to sort of put this thing back on, and then you can use the ASA wheel that you took out, so you can set this thing all the way back around here, which is about 12. So again, when this thing is on, you cannot go any further. So, and then you put this at 12, you clock it all the way to 100, and then you take it out, and without moving this thing, you can lift it up. So this is set at 100. You set the aperture on the actual lens. Again, something that I'm not gonna tilt here because I'm afraid. Actually, I can just rotate. So you set the aperture here at 5.6. You have the ASA here at 100, and then the resistor that you want to move is the last one, the one that's here. Again, all of this is in the PDF. I'm just explaining how I do it, how I go about these things. And so you need to adjust this thing. So for example, when I started doing this, so you do the ASA inclination, you do the AD conversion resistor or potentiometer, and then when I did this using the plate that is actually a luminance of EV11, but it's actually spot on now that I know how this thing works. I had a shutter speed of 60 or 1/16th, 60th there. So, and the light sensor was telling me I need to go to 125. So again, exactly one stop overexposed. So I tweaked this thing here to bring it to 125. And then you can test some other settings. You put yourself at 400 and then you check, you compare it to the light cell. It should give you a reading of 500 because 125, 250 at 400, sorry, you are at 100, so at 200 you're going to get 250, at 400 you're going to get 500, you can even check at 800, you should have 1000th on the light meter. This is actually kind of great because, for example, in my case, I had 125 at 100 ISO with 5.6 aperture, but once I went all the way to 800, where I should have had something like 1000, I had the two LEDs 500 and 1000th that were lit up, meaning that I was actually slightly under. So you can make, again, minute adjustments, something that, funnily enough, if you look at the PDF of Minolta, they tell you that it's within range. In allowable range is plus minus 1.5 EV, or 0.5, sorry. So this is something that they actually, I would say that this is fine for them, that it's within acceptable range. So here you go. I've shown you the way I do it. I've shown you the PDF. I'm going to put it in the description, at least the one for the X300. Again, there is no difference at all in the light metering system between the X300, the X370, the X500. You can use this PDF in the light metering section of these. On all of these cameras, you do not need to buy the X500 service manual unless you screw up like me and you think to yourself, well, maybe I just ruined it, I'd like to figure it out, just to realize that it's the probe or the flash system that you don't really care that much about. So here you go.